Hey guys, Drifter here. Today I've got some Call of Duty Ghosts gameplay for you. I've had the luxury of playing the game all day down in beautiful, sunny, but always a little bit weird Los Angeles, California. I was flown out as a guest of Activision to be one of the first few people to try their game, and they let me record it. I have some limitations on what I can show you. I can only show you about 5 minutes of gameplay from each map, so that's not big of a deal. It gives me about 15 minutes to talk about the game. The gameplay that you're going to be seeing is the more interesting clips, the things that I thought were cool, the things that happened in my gameplay. Maybe not necessarily always things that I did. There were other really good players that I played with today, a lot of other YouTubers and pro players. It was like Team YouTube and Team Competitive just assembled today, so we had a lot of people doing crazy stuff, and sometimes I was kind of on the receiving end of that. I'm going to tell you everything I think about Call of Duty Ghosts and all the information I've got, both the technical information and some of the feel information here, all in one big video. And in just a second, I'm going to drop this gas station on somebody and get a kill. So the game has lots of new things. If you saw the presentation, if you watched the live stream, or if you've really looked at YouTube at all in the last couple of days, you've probably seen the 800 new game modes. The dynamic maps are a really big thing. The Xbox One launch, we were playing on Xbox One, the leaning, the movement's different, new maps, new gun streaks, all this sort of stuff. It was a really major event here. It was such a big event, the FTC actually had a presence to make sure that everything was going legally and smooth and that sort of thing. So let's start off with the technical details first. As a lot of you already know, the new engine isn't necessarily a new built from the ground up engine, as it is the old engine again reskinned, but instead of it being reskinned or twerked or tweaked or just slightly changed, it's more like instead of teaching an old dog new tricks, you give the dog a bath, you make him 5 years younger, and then you teach him some new tricks. The engine was stripped down to its core components, rebuilt graphically and gameplay-wise to allow them to do new things that they wanted to do. The most impressive of which for me, from a technical standpoint, was the double rendering of the sniper rifle scope. That's something that I previously only saw in Killing Floor, only because it ran at such a low graphical spec that it could do it very easily. To do that sort of effect, you actually have to render the entire game world twice, which would cut your frame rate by half or a little bit more than half, and was therefore unfeasible in Battlefield and Call of Duty. So I'm really impressed with the new sniper rifle scope just from a pure technical standpoint. Hit detection feels better. That's something that's very difficult to test in my limited time playing. It worked very well with the Riot Shield, and all of my guns seem to hit like they should. The engine's been reworked to handle the new movement. You'll see me doing a lot more sliding, dashing, handwork, climbing, a lot more interactive things here that we're going to move on to later. But that was part of the rework, was the movement and how your model syncs with the terrain. Speaking of terrain, it is now more destructible. There are more objects you can shoot through. We don't have those impenetrable bananas and baskets. Some of them have a bit of a physics engine to it with things that bounce around, but most of them are more pre-scripted, and they're pre-scripted to be incredibly destructible. Instead of just having exploding barrels everywhere, we have breakable things everywhere that fall, that hurt, that morph the map, that really change things up, which made it more fun. The graphics, of course, got an upgrade. We're not going to be showing off old graphics here on a new console, new system. Speaking of which, what we played on today was not the Xbox One. We played on a PC that had the Xbox One hardware, the graphics and RAM and processor and that sort of stuff inside, and it was running an Xbox 360 emulator. On top of that, we were running alpha build of the game and playing on an Xbox One controller. I said Xbox 360, that's Xbox One emulator. So it's about as close to playing on an Xbox One as anybody can get right now. When it comes to movement, the movement is now momentum based. The Quake engine kind of had this thing where you could go from 0 to maximum acceleration very quickly, so that even though you had obstacles in Black Ops and Modern Warfare 3 where you had to stop and vault and climb over, you could do it very quickly and you would go back to your maximum speed and it wasn't such a big hindrance. This one, you can't do that. If you run and you come to a complete stop and then you climb and expect to just go back to that full sprinting speed and keep going, it doesn't. You need to conserve your momentum and time your climbs, time your jumps, time your slide into lean and that sort of stuff. It's all about conservation of momentum. It's not like Gears of War. It's more difficult than that. You can go from being very, very fast to being very, very slow if you screw it up. So I think it's a good thing. It's harder. It punishes me a little bit more because I'm used to a more forgiving engine, but I do believe that's a good improvement. The movement mostly feels natural. I got a hang of the dashing pretty quick. I play on SCUF controllers so much so I'm not as used to hitting the buttons as I should be, but the dash works. It's not like you slide on your chest, you just kind of slide on your knees into cover really quick. It's a nice transition from running to ducking without having to stop to duck to slow down. You just kind of slide on your knees and you're good to go. The only thing I never really mastered is the leaning. The leaning mechanic works pretty well, but it's a very fast-paced game and I had a limited time to do it, and it has a sort of context sensitivity to it. There's a sort of skill to the lean, when not to lean, what objects lean, what don't. Most of them have a lean mechanic, but I never really mastered it as well as I should have. One of the things you're about to see here now is we're going to call in an Odin Strike, which is going to morph the map when it hits. The map is morphing around me into a totally different map when it hits. We just trash everything. But it felt pretty good movement-wise. The head glitching spots, they still existed to a degree. There was less head glitching, or I would say head glitching is still in the engine, but I didn't see those barrels around every corner. Instead of being head-high walls, there was chest-high walls, so there was a lot less places for you to just shoot people out of your eyeballs. You could more or less see the upper chest. I believe that was a good multiplayer design. I did have some of the pros do it to me. They learned very quickly. Every single person I was playing, I was going to say most, but pretty much everybody here was a pro or a YouTuber, so it was tough to get clips. This was a tough crowd, and I had a capture card failure. Most of my good games ended up getting deleted when my capture card crashed. When it comes to weapons, I had a very limited selection. I'm going to tell you the recoil is heavier on this game than it has been in previous games. You'll see a lot of people, it looks like it has no recoil. That's because very good people are playing it, and they're very good at controlling the recoil. The reality is it kicks pretty good, especially if you go full auto. It seems to be a little bit more forgiving than other Call of Duties if you shoot in bursts. That works pretty well. I think it's always kind of worked pretty well. It is very SMG friendly, especially the Strike Zone map that everybody liked a lot. It's a small map. Everybody liked using their SMGs and running around. I wasn't such a big fan. I wanted to try out the assault rifles and the marksmans on the bigger maps. I didn't get as much time. It's like, ooh, Strike Zone and playing Cranked again? Yeah, let's do that for the 7th time today. But SMGs seem to be more or less the dominant weapons. Assault rifles have a decent role, not necessarily in the maps we've played. The marksman rifles are high skill, high reward. They are one shot to the head, pretty much any range, one shot to the dome, and they're done. 2 shots anywhere else. If you miss 1 or 2 shots, you're kind of screwed. They're really loud. Everybody's going to know where you are when you start shooting them. They do not work at all in small maps. In the snow map, Whiteout, I believe it was, they work pretty well. Sniper rifles got a major rework, not only with the double rendering, that changed the way they look, but just the way they function and the way they feel. I'm going to say that it's old school sniping, aiming down the sights, shooting people long ranges, that works fine. Quickscoping is still a thing. It still exists, but it's different. It's not, I'm going to say, harder. Well, it is harder, but it's not radically harder. If you know how to quickscope, I was there with FaZe Cross a good bit today. He was able to get it working, he was able to get it going, but it wasn't easy. It was different. You're not going to get quickscoped as much. You're going to have a little bit more difficulty mastering this. Optic Hex nailed me pretty good today. He caught up with the quickscoping. I don't think you're going to just run into it as much in this game. Hopefully not. Like I said, doable, not easily doable. You can kind of make it happen. Other things with the weapons, the knife is Battlefield 3 style, or you might call it Halo style. You don't have this weird sort of banana animation where you just fling it and somebody dies. You have to walk up and grab them and stab them, and it's a bit of a slower animation, and people have a tendency to shoot at you when you do it, so there is less overall knifing. There's still knifing. You're still going to get stabbed. I never really found it to be a problem. Pistols are weaker than Black Ops 2. A lot of people didn't like the Black Ops pistols. I love the strength. A lot of people said that's overpowered and they didn't like it. They're more 3-4 hit kill pistols, that sort of thing. When it comes to the perks and the streaks, it's too early to tell. We played a very lockdown version of the game, very limited weapons, perks, kill streaks, that sort of thing. I did see some that looked really crazy. Deadeye is really crazy. That's like stopping power, but it works on a probability basis. The more kills you get, the more likely you are to have a stopping power sort of effect. The Maniac kill streak is utterly insane. That's kind of like the suits I saw in Elysium. It was just out of control. There was one more, I believe. There was, oh yeah, the Stinger missiles and the support streak. Not as big a fan of that as I would like. When it comes to the maps, I'm going to tell you they do not feel like Call of Duty maps. They feel really, really different. The dynamic elements and the snow and the stuff that kicks around, the stuff that blows up, the way you play them feels different. And even though you might say the dynamic elements are gimmicky or that it's just Call of Duty all over again, it has some level of familiarity, but like the pro players were saying it wasn't the same kind of 3-lane Russian or spawn trap sort of deal. It just had a, I don't know, I don't have the vocabulary to describe it at this moment because it's really late and I'm tired, but it felt like I was playing a different kind of game when I came to the maps. Not necessarily sure if that's good or bad. I think on this particular map it was good. This was a map that, despite me being very bad at, I liked. It played really differently, and the map with the gas station also played differently. Had a lot more dynamic elements, and these are considered static maps. These are considered static maps that have a dynamic element. The truly dynamic maps that are constantly changing, we still haven't seen yet. I don't know how that's going to work, how it's going to play. If I have a feeling, I'm going to assume that most people are going to try to work the dynamic elements today. Maybe it's just because it's YouTubers or whatever. Everybody was blowing stuff up and going for Odin strikes. Yeah, here comes the Maniac kill streak. Or trying to drop a gas station on people. They were really, really pushing that. They were going for it. They feel busy. There's more things going on the map. Maybe that's because we have more space on the engine or the new consoles. There's more stuff that blows up, more stuff that pops, more stuff that cracks, more things going on in general that kind of distract you. They feel a little bit more cluttered. There's a lot more climbing. There's a lot more objects that you can reach out and grab and squeeze and work with, and a lot more places that have multiple entrances. You don't have the standard 1 or 2 entrances. You have a couple ways in. Camping will work to an extent, but you can't just Betty or Claymore or like lock up one entrance. It's pretty easy to come in there and get you. And the dynamic elements, they don't work on a physics engine. We're not talking CryEngine here. They feel a lot like the Battlefield 4 elements that I played with at E3. They are to some degree pre-scripted. It's like, we're going to take down the skyscraper, or, you know, this gas station's going away. The Odin strike changes the map. It doesn't do it differently every time. It does the same thing every time, but you're making it happen. It's not like, oh, well, the timer counts down. No, it's because you created this set of actions and it goes. Overall, I think that this is a good change for Call of Duty. It was good for the couple hours that I played it, but it was really, really different. Infinity Ward just decided that they were going to throw everything and the kitchen sink at this game. They're going to change movement, we're going to take the engine, we're going to change the look, we're going to change the way the guns work, we're going to change the way the maps work. And, you know, I made a commentary about this and some other things, that Call of Duty needs to keep a level of familiarity. People like Call of Duty because of a certain kind of gameplay, because it works a certain way, because they're familiar with it, and it didn't change because it wasn't broken. Well, Infinity Ward decided to take the big risk. They're going to say, well, it's not broken, but, or, you know, I know a lot of people say, well, it's clearly broken, or you don't like it, but it's not broken in terms of selling. It still sells great. They still make money off of it. But they just decided, we're going to try to do it better, or we're going to change it, or we're going to make it different. Or maybe they realize they're going up against Titanfall and Destiny and, I don't know, Half-Life 3, hopefully, or whatever, all the crazy IPs and consoles that are launching this winter. So if they're not new, if they're not different, if they're not forcing a change and really, really going at it, they're going to get left behind and forgotten. And I think that's what they went for. They went really big here. This is going to either be a really big hit with people, or it's going to be a really big miss. I think it's going to be a hit. I think you're going to like it. I think you're going to have fun for it. Some people, I know they're not going to like it. Quickscopers, maybe. But that's about it for me. I wish I had time to make a more eloquent commentary, but I'm on the road and running weird equipment, weird hours, weird people, Los Angeles, whatever. But it's been fun. Hope you enjoyed the commentary. Hope you learned something useful. If you did, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. Drifter out.